It's a good world gone bad. Here we are with the SSG 747, and this time it's take two. We're going to start right away. Let's get rid of the intro before I get copyrighted with that, because again, it's the wrong channel. Boom, there we go. And you can hear a bit of noise. That's because we've got engines 2 and 3 up and running. I wanted to make sure I got this right before going on stream. Because of course of the disaster last time. So what I've figured out, guys, is if you do anything out of sequence and SSG, you got to sort this out. If you do anything even slightly out of sequence when it comes to the engine startup, what happens is the coding for the entire module, you know, by SSG, they're the ones that make it, basically the code isn't right, and it shuts you into a place in the code, if you like, where doesn't matter what you do now, the engines are not going to work, doesn't matter what switches you press, because their coding has basically shunted you off down a dead-end one-way alley, and the only way you can get out of that is to completely reload the entire thing. So when it comes to starting up the engines, just do it by the book. Don't deviate from it by one iota and you'll be fine. So you can see we've got engines 2 and 3 started. We've got 1 and 4 to go. And so to do that without any tinkering, I'm just going to pull there the switch for number 4. Here we see the N2 rising. By the way, guys, if you want to see the first part of the video where we do the plan, it is in my original... I say the original, it was done a day or two ago. The SSG 747 review, you know, does it still suck? And of course, my conclusion was yes, because we couldn't get the engines started. Oh, well, we could get half of them started. This time you can see we're getting all the engines started. So if you want to see SIDS and stars and planning flight plans and all the rest, I'm not going to waste your time doing all that again. I've already got there. This is basically continuing on from where the other one left off, which is where the engines start, and so that's why you see it. Puss, you settle down, sweetheart. She's all excited on my leg. It's New Year's Day, and she's saying, come on, get off the computer. I want to go out in the sun. We're going out at 2 o'clock, sweetheart. We're going to go and see my sister with my girlfriend. It'll be nice, but until then, you're going to have to settle down. She can sense, you know, but like, you know, when your dog knows you're going for a walk, she's like that. She can sense it. All right, fuel in, and that's going to be engine number 1 starting. So that's got 2, 3, 4 is running. You will see we got the notification. That's going to stay there for a little while. Once it is running, then it auto goes away. We've already got our V-speeds, and this is a flight plan from SimBrief. It's Hanover to Heathrow. I should have perhaps already mentioned that. And if we take a look here, it's a relatively short flight, 400 miles, cruising at 40,000 feet, cost index 232 because we are in the Queen of the Skies, departing 11, well, pushback at 11, we'll see we'll be slightly behind. It reckons takeoff 11:20, we'll be ahead of time on that. And apparently landing into Heathrow at 12:43. We'll see if we can't step on it and get there a bit sooner. All right, engines 1, 2, 3, 4 all running. All the MC lights are extinguished. I don't know why SSG starts with the auto brake in the RTO position. I don't think that's right. Again, I really do like that we have the map built in there on the ND. So when you scale the ND all the way in, you get the map view, and it's really nice that they've shown that. Again, I don't know if this is linked in with my Navigraph subscription or whether everybody gets this. Perhaps somebody would like to let me know. The center button doesn't seem to be working though, at least not zoomed in. Although we do got a vertical profile when we zoom out, which is really nice. We'll have to see how that is on departure, but for now, okay, there you go. So it is a bit finicky still. You can see that there. All right, so with the engines running, 1, 2, 3, 4, we should be able to get rid of the APU. And let's just check. Engine gens are all on. Engine hydraulics are on. Fuel pumps are on, engine bleeds are on, so let's turn off the APU bleed. Wait for that valve to disappear. There we go. We'll turn the packs on. 1, 2, 3. And with that, APU can disappear. And I think we should be good to go. All right, the guy is there ready and waiting for us to give the pushback signal. Beacon is already on because we're starting the engines, or the engines are already started rather. So coming down here. By the way, Happy New Year to everyone. If I haven't already said so. This third FMC is just for decoration. I saw it and I thought, oh look, have they incorporated a data link? And alas, no. None of these buttons work. It is literally just a panel for decoration, although as we've seen, radios do work. And
at 10 miles, sky conditions few at 5,000.
There's the ATIS for Hanover just to prove it.
Temperature 13, dew point 6, QNH 1010. Advise on initial contact. You have information.
Alright, so there's actually been a slight change in pressure since I've done this. So QNH 1010, there we go.
Hamburg fuel sputal information echo 1045.
Hamburg, not Hanover. What I said Hanover, it's Hamburg. Alright, on our initial departure, it's here to Vessen. It's on the NDB beacon there, 378. Let me just check. We're coming out on this one. What's our initial height clearance?
At 16,000. Temperature 13.
Trans is at 5, and initial climb is 5 as well. Alright, so we'll put that in on the out window, and yeah, so with a bit of luck this will work. There we go.
Fuel sputal information echo 1045. Zulu arriving runway 23.
Alright, let's shut that off. At least we're still on 2-3 as well. Let's let go of the parking brakes. Chocks, ground power, all of that is already gone. Beacon is already on.
Starting pushback, and you may start the engine.
Thank you. Engines are already started, by the way, so just give us the pushback. Transponder in is on. Still with the crazy thing. Now our steering wheel is, our nose wheel steering, if you remember, controls the pushback. So for whatever reason, Better Pushback is not able to steer, at least not very well, the aircraft. So my nose wheel seems to override what he wants, which is a shame really, because we had planned it. If you remember, that was the same yesterday. So I'm just going to put us onto this red line here. Again, my nose wheel is completely overriding what this guy is trying to do. See him twisting and turning, but no, I want what I want. Alright, I'm going to tell him to stop. He's probably going to...
Operation complete. Please set parking brake.
Parking brake set.
Disconnecting tow. Stand by.
Thank you very much. Alright, let's continue then. So we've got auto brake is already on RTO. It's a flaps 20, because I always like the 20 with the 7.4. 10 or 20, that's it. CG trim 8. I'm looking for the trim wheel, of course. It's here. Looks like default is 7.5, so moving the stabs. There we go. Trim down to 8. Give the ground guy the signal. V2 of 155. So we've lost a knot there. Hey, why does that jump between 150? What's this? I can't seem to get the in-between speeds. Alright, let me use my... There we go. Right, flight directors, my side.
Tow is disconnected and bypass pin has been removed. Hand signal on the right. I'll see you next time and have a safe flight.
Thank you very much. Yeah, very helpful as well here. We can see the runways labeled. Now, if we zoom in, do we actually get the... Okay, it is a shame that they don't label the taxiways, but at least we've got the runways. So it's better than nothing, but it's certainly nothing that you can rely on. You know, if you're getting your VATSIM instructions, you're still going to have to refer to this to get your letters on the nav. All right, let's go straight ahead then. This guy is disconnected, and There he is, showing that he's got the pin. Dude, your pin don't work. His pin didn't work at all. These brightnesses are already up, but the screen's not looking very bright considering they're on full. I beg your pardon, there was a... Oh no, yeah, they're on full. And FMC... Yeah, every screen is on full. Alright, that'll do. Let's release parking brakes then. RTO is set, flaps are set, trim's set. Let's power up. I did, by the way, let me just see, does it work? Dream Engine is part of the 7.4. I think it's to do with the sound. And I did enable my multi-throttle, or rather got the multi-throttle plugin. So in theory, let's just have a quick look, see if we can set that up. So if I come to my controls, is this set in 4K? Am I working with 4K again? Oh, it's 2K, all right. So coming over to the joystick, I should, in theory, be able to set the left throttle to throttle number 1, the right throttle to throttle number 4, and because I've got the... And it's working, look at that. And that is the multi-throttle plugin. So that enables, you know, either to engines 1 and 4 to control the left and right, or you can average the middle and then it works more like that. Or you can minimize it, where if you move just that, it goes like that. If I move just that, it goes like that. But if I move the rest of them, it kind of goes like that. So it's sort of choice. Looks like idle thrust or very close to it is enough to move. I'll tell you what, I'll keep it like that, and then it's going to be nice for going round corners. And obviously, if I move them together, we get access to every one of them. I'll have to see if that works in combination with the auto throttle. Speaking of which, let's arm the auto throttle. We'll take Alpha 1 here to get the full length. I'm just going to, let's set everything there to automatic. Where are we? Transponder. I'm going to turn that on. Tara. 748 does have body gear steering and it's fully automated, which is nice, so we don't got to worry about that. Landing lights, turn off lights, taxi light, should have already had that on really. Strobe light, nav lights, so that's all the lights on. Transponder is on. It's like here, coming around these tight turns, especially if you've got a set off going, and especially if it's wet, is really nice. Still think this is an absolutely beautiful model of a 747-8. Like SSG, whoever was behind making the model, I assume it's a guy, but guy or gal clearly knows what they're doing. All right, brakes. And let's line it up. Again, body gear steering. I always focused in on it on the classics. So let's have a look here. Seeing as we didn't really get to see it before. So there you can see I'm put full lock on to the left. Keep an eye on these wheels at the back. When I straighten up now, see how they steer? Now if I move to the right, now you can get a good idea of body gear steering and that. And it really, really, really makes a difference. Thing is, with this one, it doesn't seem an easy way to disable it. There's the rudder. Oh, it's a multi, you know, there's not often you get these multi-stage rudders. Look at that. So there's like the main bit and then a secondary piece to it. Very nice. I guess that's in case there's a failure. All right, here we see one of the problems where magnetic and true don't align. And I remember this being an issue before on this particular aircraft. You can see we're in line with the runway, but this is showing that we're not in line with the runway, which is not great. We'll keep it scaled like that until we take off, and then we'll zoom out. We are following the SID. I'm not going to disappear the icon today. So it's max 210, runway heading 228, it would seem. We've got 227 in, which I've taken here off the runway heading. Look at this, 227. If we take a look on the ILS, it's also 228 degrees. So the ILS is 228. The departure is 228, but the airport view shows the runway 227, so I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. I'm sure that'll be resolved in a future ACARS. I have got the latest ACARS, which is for January 23. Right, max speed 210 until we're there, and then it's direct to Vesa. I'm just wondering, 378, how do we tune these things in? Now we've got the insufficient fuel notification. I have gone along with the sim brief. So let's just come over to the radio nav page. Looks like 341 is dialed in on the ADF. We want 378. Do we tune in the code? Yeah, looks like we put in the code. So let's just put in 378. Before we do, we need to clear out the insufficient fuel. 378, so that's dialed in my side. And we'll see when we take off if we can grab hold of that. I just want to keep this on map view while we take off. All right, FMC, we're low on fuel. We know we're going to ignore that. By the way, let's just clear. Yeah, I don't like that. Clear should clear out that entire message rather than deleting it one character at a time. I know when you type it in yourself, it one character. Anyway, by the by, total fuel there we see is 52.9. We're going to go regardless what it says, but just let's have a look. Where are we here? Min takeoff 52.7. Well, we're at 52.9, so we're legal by £200. And when you've got 4 engines chewing through, that is not going to last us long. So let's wind them up. I'll shut up and you can hear. Going to ignore the insufficient fuel and Toga. Very, very slow Togaing. I did derate to takeoff too because we are quite light and it is a long runway. Whoa!
V1.
That teaches you to not do cinematic shots for too long.
Rotate.
There's the rotate. All right, up we go. Feels great.
V2.
Feels like a massive plane. Just the slowness without being sluggish. I don't know how exactly to describe it, but slow without sluggish. It's a big plane. Wheels up. And I'm going to follow the flight directors, and we need LNAV, VNAV. Looks like, what's the throttles doing there? They're throttling back and then throttling up. All right, so, you know, there you can see examples of why this is not yet, you know, not yet great, is it? Let's put the zoom out, and now we can see. Now, why does the flight path disappear when we zoom in and it only appears? Nobody knows. Let's put the autopilot on. Happy New Year, everybody. I'm not going to get too stressed out with this today. We've still got the insufficient fuel. No TAMs. Delete, delete. I've got to delete them on both sides. Maybe it is a message that appears to both sides. All right, let's go flaps 10. Certainly not up to speed yet, is it? Felt like it was crawling. I haven't realised set passenger views. We are on the passenger variant. Go on, open the door. Here's first class up top. Let's come over here. Wow, that actually looks really good for just default scenery. Look at that. Not bad at all. We've got live time, live weather. I'm just moving to a more suitable, you know, I want a nice, whoa, that certainly didn't look great. That's decent enough. That's going to be my camera for upstairs on the left. Let's come over and set up for the right. Look at that. They took a shot of the plane and then the tail is somehow back to front. Alright, right hand side, some nice vapes coming off. A bit exaggerated, I think, but can we go through the floor? Yes. And now we're downstairs in what would be biz. Let's, yeah, I'm gonna just move back a bit and then continue cleaning up the flaps with us having a bit of a view. It's a very Boeing 7.4 colour, right? With the browns and the creamish. Let's go back a bit further. I am holding down shift. It's just such a big plane. It's taken a long time to move the internal camera around. There we go, that'll do. So that's going to be my mid sort of wing level. Let's retract flaps 1 notch. So that's going from 10 in, then I believe it's 5, is it? And then it's from 5 to 1, and then that's it. Let's come over here. I realise I'm putting a lot of effort into not doing things by the book on this one. It's looking at the module, not trying to do everything by the book this time. So that's the flaps all the way in. The slats should remain, and indeed they do. How are we doing up front? Everything looks fine. Alright, so we've met our 5,000 foot. That was the restriction on the SID. Once we get there, it's the changeover from to flight levels. So we'll pull standard now. And we'll assume ATC has cleared us all the way up to, let's just start with 12. I'm going to go for flight level change to make that quick and easy. The vapes on the wings seem very random. There she is climbing, but what a beautiful model, nice and shiny. Whoever made the model for SSG, I can feel like it was the best person on the team, because some of the rest of the thing, mind you, the sound is, it's all right. The interface with the cockpit is good. As I've said before, I like that. The mouse wheel to move, you know, that's good. And let's push the range out. I do like on the 7.4 you can push it all the way out to 640 nautical miles, which is a massive difference. Most aircraft you're limited to 320 or even 160. I think the Airbus A320s, are they at 160 or do they go to 320? They certainly don't go out to 640, that's for sure. Alright, we are slightly above slat retract speed, so let's go ahead and do that with a view on wing. 3, 2, 1 now. Folding away in a nice, slow, realistic looking manner. On the Fearless one, the slats fold away much quicker than that, about 3 or 4 times as fast, which seems a little bit too quick. That's felt a lot more realistic in the speed at which they folded away. Alright, let's get rid of the outboard landing lights. What else? Turn off lights. Inboard lights remain on while we're below 10. Taxi lights certainly can disappear. Wing light and logo can disappear as well. And coming down here, chime the cabin. There we are, passing through 10. So we're going to accelerate and continue the climb. We got the nice little arc on the ND. Of course, unique to the Boeings, the Airbus just has this little arrow in on the side. Right, 24,000. We've got an FMC message. Who is saying what? Well, I don't see it, so let's clear. And let's assume now we're cleared all the way up to 40,000. Switch over to VNAV. Are we going to continue climbing? Throttle keeps having this little twitchy thing. and it's because it's where I'm moving them, so I'm going to keep my throttle. I'm going to match it more or less. There we go. I think it's as well to do with the multi-throttle plug-in. Thing is, if I disable it and then forget about it, it's going to be a bit awkward when we get near the other end. I'll leave it on for now. Alright, so VNAV is electing to climb us, what's that, about 328 knots, it looks like. And then once we're there, we should start racing up. Altimeters are already standard. This flight is going to be relatively quick, although we are facing a relatively strong headwind. Look at that, 71 knots already. What are we looking at for the cruise? Wow, 239 at 110, which is a wind component of -104. I should have looked at that before I took off, and I'd have gone the other way. I'll tell you what, it's a good excuse to do a divert. What is our alternate? Is it Manchester or is it something in France? It's usually Manchester or France if you go into Heathrow. Where are we? Yeah, it's Manchester, EGCC. Alright, so that's going to have us continue flying into the wind. So we're going to go for an alternate. Don't get me wrong, 400 miles was fine because I knew the Queen of the Skies can shift, but 400 miles into a headwind that's averaging in excess of 100 knots, no, that's going to be too long. Right, flight path vector. While we are flying now, let's climbing up to 40,000. Let's have a look. So, yeah, flight path vector, and that is working. That little white aircraft symbol, the bird as the Airbuses would call it. The turbulence here, I really like the way that the autopilot is dealing with the turbulence. I've seen far too many modules where the flight controls are twitching back and forth as though they're having an epileptic fit while they're dealing with every little change. This to me looks much more natural, and if we come over to the cabin view, we can see it's reflected here in the flight controls, much more slower, deliberate movements rather than this, you know, epileptic twidgeting. Just what an absolute, I know I'm going to keep saying it, it is a gorgeous model and really, really nice. The reflections there. I've noticed this issue in multiple games now, not just XPlane, where when anything goes through a cloud or a fog or low visibility, the entire plane looks good apart from the areas that are black. And the blackness of whatever plane or car, lorry, whatever it happens to be, seems to be impervious to the fog. Like the black just stays black and everything else gets faded out in the fog or cloud or whatever it happens to be. Seems we're above the clouds now, so it's not going to happen again, but I've released the camera, so that sound you can hear is the wind. Yeah, that's really nice. Yeah, so on from last. And I will, after I've done this recording, I will link the original video of this aircraft that's made a couple of days ago that goes through the setup and the startup, the alignment, the FMC, all of that shit. The problem is, I shouldn't curse so much. It frustrated me so much that I went through an hour on that video and then the engines didn't start properly. And that's why this time I went through all of that before I even went live, just in case it was going to do the same thing again. Beautiful, really, really nice colors. I like that you know, that Boeing 74-8 Intercontinental livery. It's a nice livery. And you immediately tell it's the Dash 8 because the hump up top is much bigger. The Dash 4 had a slightly bigger hump. The Dash 4 also was the first one to have larger engines. Then if you look at the Dash 2, the classic, the engines are much smaller. The hump up top is much smaller. And the Dash 1, well, what? The 7.4 original that was made, what, over 50 years ago now. Alright, so we're continuing up climb. It's working really well, passing 24,000 feet. I have derated to climb 1 if I remember correctly. Although there it says climb. Let's have a little look. VNav, what we got here. So we got the Econ Cruise as well as our target height. Let's come over. Where's the engine? Engines. Do we got the engines anywhere? Not obvious. Let's come over to the init index page. Menu, perhaps. Performance. Thrust limb. Alright, so somehow it came out of climb 1. When I was on the plan page, I had a D-rate 2 for takeoff and a D-rate climb 1 for the climb. So I'm not sure how it's gone from climb 1 into climb. But because what I was going to do now was change it from climb 1 to climb, but seeing as we're already there, there's nothing to do. RTO automatically turned off after takeoff. I didn't do that, so that's much more like the Airbuses. Fuel temperature -9 degrees. Looks like it's getting ready to say -10, but not quite. Static air temp -38. Total fuel 41.2, so not much fuel at all. Gross weight 607.5 thousand. And cabin altitude 7,000, call it 300 feet. And we see there the pressure, the PSI on the, is 6.2 PSI. Look at that, headwind, 110 knots. Yeah, we're definitely diverting. Alright, so let's pick somewhere, and going to use Avitab. Again, a minor, bit more than minor, is that they haven't integrated Avitab with the side here. You've just got a few basic options, that half of which are grayed out during the flight. By the way, this is an interesting sheet of information I've not noticed before. So, how far we've flown in kilometers and miles, flight time, speed, ground speed, altitude in feet and meters, destination. Oh, so it's, I'm guessing it's pulling this out of the FMC. So what's that? 306 miles to go. ETA 12:13. So that's relatively close to our predicted time of arrival. I am sure this just averages the speed out and gives you an ETA based on that. Of course, you'd have to slow down and wind your way in through the star, and that's probably going to account for the difference between what they're saying and what our plan said, which reckons that we was getting in at landing at 12:43. Yeah, so I reckon that's where that half hour has gone to. Of course, we did take off slightly early as well. Outside air temperature -48. Let's just see, does that match up here with the static? Yeah, -47 degrees centigrade. So that is that, which is nice. And then we've got local time as well as UTC. By the way, local time in Germany is not 2 hours ahead of UTC. It's 1 hour ahead, Central European time. So, minor issues and discrepancies, but overall this doesn't feel too bad at all. One of the big issues was planning SIDS and stars and editing things like that on the FMC, so let's see if they have resolved anything there. So let's come over to the plan mode, and we will pick somewhere else. I didn't sew up the end of the flight anyway, but we're going to pick somewhere else regardless, just because of this headwind. So let's come over to the maps view, and we'll pick one. Navigraph high out. So see, we're on the November 125 airway, which, by the way, I was able to put into the FMC with no problem at all. It accepted the airway. One thing you did have to do, which is normal, is at the end of every airway you had to put in the waypoint before you could start on another airway. So for example, to jump from November 125 onto the November 872, you couldn't just put November 125 airway, then November 872 airway. You had to put November 125 airway, then put this waypoint in, which I'm guessing is Echo Echo Lima, and then onto the November 872 airway. Not that that's a problem, it's just some aircraft let you do it, others don't, and this one doesn't. Just an observation. Alright, so rather than continuing all the way into Heathrow, let's pick somewhere where the wind is going to help us. In fact, I'm just going to real quick load up Windy, and again, this is live New Year's Day. And I have to be out of here. I'm off at 2 o'clock, but I need to get ready, so I need to think. Yeah, so taking a look at this right now, let's see if I can bring this in and show you just exactly what the winds are doing here. Where are we? There we go. Alright, so here we are. This is Windy right now. Here you can see the UK zooming in on it. This is up at 30,000 feet, and if I move over here, here we got 39. Here we've got 34,000 feet, so you can see we've got massive winds. If I put this point down, for example here, winds 152, that is a jet stream and a half. There often is one over the UK pushing into Central Europe. Usually it points a little bit more down to the south. This time it's swinging over. So we're flying from here, northern Germany, straight over to Heathrow. So we're going against this massive jet stream. That's what the problem is. So I'm going to think about swinging around. I know, let's go direct to Copenhagen. So even if we're here, that's going to be really nice and fast. We can see that Echo Kilo Charlie Hotel. That's going to be our alternate. We can see there the latest weather. So let's come back into XPlane and let's see how we can look at making a divert here. So we're there. We're going to divert to here, and that's going to be hopefully nice and fast with the winds being what they are. Where are we? Somewhere around here. All right. Let's just get rid of that to clear up. Echo Kilo Charlie Hotel, there we are. All right, so first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to point the aircraft in the right direction. We're still climbing, so I'm going to switch over to flight level change because that's going to get chucked out anyway. Put this over into map mode, heading select, and spinning the mouse wheel. Oh, you can okay, you can click and drag. That's nice. All right, let's go for about 0.45. I do like the ability here to change the speed very precisely, so it's not just 84, 85, 86, but you've got this additional decimal point here. That's really nice. $859. Shout out to anyone from Hull with your $5.99s. All right. Echo Kilo Charlie Hotel. So, route page. Destination. It's the alternate. Oh, we do got an alternate option, but doesn't seem... Okay, so it's just randomly picking some airports in the, I guess, in the area with regards to where we are. Echo Hotel Golf Golf is currently active. I'm guessing if I'm going to zoom in, let's hit the airport page up. Okay, that's the airport that's closest to us, so I really like that. The alternate page here is showing you just the nearest airfields. There we see Echo, Tango, November, Tango, which is there. Is there any guarantee that these runways are long enough? Let's have a look. Echo, Tango, November, Tango. Let's have a... clear these out. We don't need that. Echo, Tango, November, Tango. Well, that was 8,000 foot, so yes. Echo Hotel. I'm trying to catch it out, because if I can't catch it out, you got to give it props. They've filtered out the ones that are too short. Let's try Echo Hotel Lima Whiskey. 7,800 foot. Yeah, you could put a 7.4 on that. Echo Hotel. Well, certainly Golf Golf. That sounds like a big air. Always when they double up the letters, you almost for sure got a big airfield. Yeah, 8,100. Yeah, so it would seem to be that the nearest alternates automatically filter out unsuitable runways, which is nice. What we got on page 2? Well, answer nothing. I do like here, look at that, you can select and then hit divert now. That is a really nice little touch. I'm going to clear that out and we're going to go route and type it in ourselves. MCP altitude, what are you doing? You're letting us know we're getting up to 40,000. It is. I've never known it tell, you know, you hear that to let you know that you're within, you know, sometimes it's 600 feet. 700 feet, varies a bit, but I've never known it show up on the FMC at the same time. We'll clear out the... Alright, there's another notification that we're getting up to height. Let's clear that off. And let me just remind myself what it was called. Echo Kilo Charlie Hotel. Echo Kilo Charlie Hotel. Because part of this is about changing the plans along the way. That looks good. We're going to be coming in from this side, so I'm going to go direct to Tudlow, and then after that we'll rig up the arrival from then on, the Star. This thing is binging and bonging, man. We're up at 40,000. I'm happy. Altitude hold mode is in. And yeah, throttles. Do you see how wildly they went forward? That was far more aggressive, like 100 times more aggressive than when I hit the Toga switch. Remember when I hit Toga? They were like moving forward like speed of a snail. Anyways. Oh, by the way, flight number, I made it up. Quebec Oscar Sierra and then 4452, but Quebec Oscar Sierra. 10 points for the first person who can guess what QOS, Quebec Oscar Sierra, may stand for. There's a clue. That's your clue. New Year's. Come on, wouldn't you like to be the first person to win 10 points on New Year's? Yeah. I would. But I'm the one giving them away, so... Alright, legs. So... we've got nothing on the legs page. What happened? What happened to our flight plan? Somehow our flight plan has evaporated. Well, that isn't right, because we haven't changed anything yet. Well... Alright, route page. Let's get this in. Echo Kilo Charlie Hotel. Echo Kilo Charlie Hotel. That's going to be our new destination. That's accepted. Depart arrive. Echo Kilo Charlie Hotel is showing up there. That's great. Let's come over to the plan page. Arrival page. And we want to come through Tudlow 3 Alpha. Tudlow 3 Alpha, that's showing up. Again, these continuous messages about the altitude is a bit frustrating. And let's push the range out. actually thinks we're coming from Heathrow, or at least it's drawing a magenta line from Heathrow for some reason. Transition Tudlow, so that's where we're going to be heading, and then, well, it's going to spit us out at Irpuk, and from there we'll vector ourselves onto whatever they're saying for the weather. Speaking of weather, I could look it up now, but it's going to be more fun to set it up late on. Let's dial it in, 122.75. Put it in on the right side, we'll try it there, 122.75. Okay, activate that, and let's turn it on, turn it up, and see when we get to here. Alright, so there we are, we're showing up now on the thing. We want to be direct Tudlow, so let's exec all that, clear out the continuous. It's seems a little bit buggy, these continuous messages, and Tudlow up top exec. Gotta say, the NDs and this me messing around and creating stuff seems to work. We'll try in a minute if we can make a custom waypoint. In fact, we'll do that now because we've got a little bit of time. So if let's come back to our position. Currently we're seeing the airports here, so are they always on? Airport, no? Okay, so we can toggle it. So we've got the weather. I guess there is none right now. STA, that's typically going to show you your stations, which your VORs and NDBs, and I'm going to use that to create a custom waypoint. So for example, this one here, Kilo India Lima Kill. We got a fixed page as well, so let's start with these damn messages all the time. I'll tell you what, he's wanting us to descend. Down you go then. Vertical speed, on you go. And let's reduce our Mach to 85. Of course, we've got this really strong tailwind. Look at that, 131 knots. So we are really shifting. Ground speed is 616 knots. So basically going through the speed of sound right there. Alright, come on then. So fixed page. Let's see what we've got here. Kilo India Lima. See what we can do. Okay, so it's selected. We see it's drawn on there. And we've got bearing and distance, which is your typical, all right? So let's try putting a line off. What's this going to be? Something like 310. So let's try that. 310, and should just be able to put a slash on. And there we see it. It has indeed. It's drawn a line on, which is nice. Actually doesn't go on forever, it would seem. It would seem it just draws up to where it's intersecting with where it reckons we're going to be. In fact, it's auto put in a distance of 24, so I'm guessing, yeah. All right, let's now ignore bearing and just put a distance, and in theory that should put a ring around it. So let's go slash, I'm going to put 24 again. And there we go, we got a range. All right, so the fixed page seems to be working. It does appear to be limited to a single fixed point, though, whether it's a beacon, which is a little disappointing. Usually, you know, you can put a few more on. At least 4. I don't know why it's limited to 1. So if we... let's see what we got here. Erase, fix, that cleans it out. Let's just try that other option that says a beam. So we'll put kill in. I'll hit a beam. All right, that automatically just puts you, draws a line to the closest point that you're ever going to get to wherever you choose. So let's just verify that is the case. Hotel November, a beam. There we see it. And here what we got there, Sierra Kilo Romeo. We'll try it one more time just for the sake of completeness. Seems to work absolutely perfect. All right, well, that's nice to see. So let's use the fix usefully then, and I'm going to base it off Echo Kilo Charlie Hotel, our destination. And we'll put a ring around it at 3 multiply our height, so it's going to be around 10. But I'm going to add a bit more because of the tailwind. Usually you add 1 nautical mile on for every 10 knots of tailwind, so that's going to be around 12 nautical miles plus 102. And then you also add on 1 nautical mile for every 10 knots you're over 200, so that's going to be another 9 on top of that, so 123. Now in theory, if we start descending where that range ring is, and that's showing up really nicely on the ND, I really like that. In theory, if we go idle at that point and go in a straight line, this will basically drop us out without having to, you know, use the speed brakes or the power too much on the way down. That is the theory. Sometimes you see random stuff like this and you just wonder, is that a coincidence? Look at the way all these beacons are just in a line left to right, covering, by the way, a large distance. The zoom is at 160 nautical miles. Alright, direct to this legs then, so Tudlow, put it on top, exec, hit LNAV. Gotta say, aside from the issue with your engines, SSG, the startup, this is workable. I think this can be done on VATSIM, where controllers can change things at a drop of a hat. Let's have a look at a hold, because that is something else that's going to get issued a lot. We've got a beacon right in front of us between where we're going and Tudlow. So I'm going to put that in. ALS, so let's go for it. Alpha Lima Sierra, put that up top. Exec. Where's it gone? Why is it not at the top now? What's happened there? Try it one more. Alpha Lima Sierra. Exec. Alright, so there you can see. It's just about singing its praises and then it lets me down. So let's go back direct Tudlow. And that, for whatever reason, is perfectly acceptable. Alright, let's switch over to VNav, and I'm going to reduce the alt. We got a restriction, we need to be 12,000 or below by core. And so I'm just going to put, do you know what, all the way down. What is the minimum? 4,000 or below. So I'm going to drop us all the way down to 4. And in theory, LNAV, VNav should comply with all of that unless we're already too high. We'll have to see. It's given us quite a nice descent rate. And yeah, we're just inside that that range ring that we put down, which is really nice to see. And I quite like the way it's drawn as well. It's quite a funky little design, is that. FMC now, what's the problem? Drag required. Well, that is a legit message. So let's throw up the boards. You see them there, the boards connected with the steering, the ailerons and the spoilers. And that's dumping energy nicely. See, it's trying to slow us down as well. Surely it's not shooting for 147 knots. Surely not. We're at 30,000 feet. Surely don't tell me the VNav is trying to slow us down to 147 knots. No wonder it's asking for drag. Oh my goodness. Let's stow all of that.
Information Echo 11.
Sounds like we're getting the ATIS, so I'll shut up and let's have a listen.
Weather. Wind 240 degrees at 18 knots. Visibility 8 miles. Rain. Sky conditions scattered at 1,700. Scattered at 3,000. Few at 22,000. Temperature 10. Dew point 8. QNH 1005. Advise on initial contact. You have information Echo.
I like that you can pre-tune the QNH while it's still on standard, so let's do that. 1005. That is, every aircraft needs to have that.
50 Zulu, arriving runway 30, departing runway 30, weather, wind.
Alright, so it's runway 30. There are some winds as well, so we'll have another look at that. But for now, let's look up for the approach. ILS 30. Actually, let's see. Do we got look, this is kind of weird. This airport has no RNP approaches, no RNAV. They've never heard of an RNAV. It's all ILSs apart from a couple of VOR DMEs. I was wanting to rig up an RNAV approach just to see if the thing can do it. All right, well, let's stick with the ILS then. Now, in real life, right, yeah, look at this. The autopilot is trying to do something crazy. Why is it trying to slow to 147 knots at Lugus? Clearly not right. You see, we've got a speed restriction 250 at core. There is no reason for this. So in real life, if we're doing something crazy like this, I mean, first off, I might try and delete what is in there. Now, the second thing, I would try and just manually put in a speed. So let's try 330 knots. I do hate the way that something is always going to be obscured by the speed brakes. And that's just made 147 big. What the hell? So yeah, okay, I take back. You can't really rely on this on VATSIM yet. Let's go 320. Let's try and put in a height as well. 320 at 15, let's say. No, it's not going to let me. So now I would see this as an FMC failure, and basically VNAV has to go out the window. I would switch to flight level change. Why is that not sticking? Oh my goodness. Alright, so I'm going to wind up the speed. That's going to add parasitic drag. Auto throttle, what are you doing? Alright. Auto throttle's got to be disconnected. Flight level change. Now it's working. How bizarre. Alright, 320. And I'm going to shoot for 12,000 or below. So 10,000 is going to be a good one, because clearly I don't want to be busting through 10,000 at 320 knots. Zooming in. We are cruising. Coming into Copenhagen with what was 130 odd knot tailwind. And there you can see it's coming in from the left slightly now, and just dropping below 100 knots there, 99 knots. Yeah, so it's a very mixed bag, is the SSG 747. I am running out of patience with them because, again, I'm going to tell you the story. SSG, the people who made this, released 747-8 for XPlane 11 about 4-5 years ago. It was the first module I ever bought. SSG then releases a 747-8 version 2 for XPlane 11, and they charge it as though it was a completely new aircraft. So it wasn't like it was an update, or it was an update for free, or it was an update and if you already own the old one, here's a discount. It was... And I bought it. It was the second module I ever bought. Why? Because I used to own the PMDG 747 way back in FSX days, and I'm going back what must be about 15 or so years. And it was the first professional module I ever had that had a fully working FMC and everything. And we're going back like 15 years. SIDS and stars and all of that. It was all in there. It was an incredible module for the day, and even today it would be a decent module. Obviously the graphics would be lacking a bit, but in terms of systems depth and complexity, it's kind of like the ZBEL 737 is now, right? I was kind of hoping, oh, well, version 2, maybe, you know, they're going to get a bit closer. Looks like we're catching up with what it would deem to be our vertical profile here. The vertical profile deviation is getting caught up. Anyway, turns out it wasn't. And version 2 for SSG was released about, if I remember right, 2.5 years ago. Something like that. Again, XPlane 11 days. Along comes XPlane 12. SSG is quite quick to update the 747 to make it compatible with XPlane 12, but all the core sort of stuff still isn't quite there, as you see, and they've just had so much time. Could it be that it's just one guy that's doing it part-time and that's why it takes them so long? I don't know. Fearless shows us that one guy working full-time is capable of making a module from start to finish. Anyway, looks like we're catching up nicely. You can see here the winds is causing havoc for our vertical speed profile. I think what I'm going to do to prevent any more sickness in back is just manually grab the VS. With auto throttle off, I'm going to just manually adjust VS myself to try and keep us on about 320 without these massive changes in and that's yeah, looking a lot more better at. And I am going to increase it a bit because we're coming in a little high to add parasitic. Core, we need to be 12 or below. And if we come over here, center, now we can use this to try and make sure we can comply. See there, core is approaching real fast and we need to be below 12. So if I set this to 12, there we go. It's not very clear, like, but it's, you see, we're about 5 miles away from core. It looks like we're going to be too high still. So let's whoa, what am I doing there? Let's increase vertical speed. See, that's the arc now at core, and now this white line. Yeah, looks like we're almost there, so a tiny bit more. There we go on the vertical speed. That now looks like we're going to comply, but getting awfully close to this barber pole. Do you know what? That's close enough. Let's ease off on that descent rate before we break the plane. Oh, we're at 12,000 anyway, so it's fine. Let's continue down to 10. Vertical speed. 700 feet a minute will do. That's going to slow our speed. So we're just about complied with that. Alright, so this is going to swing us round and spit us out at Irkutsk, and then we need to somehow rig up. And I've already forgotten what runway ATIS gave us. Let's have another listen.
Information Echo. Castrop information Echo 1150 Zulu arriving runway 30 departing runway 30.
Alright, 30.
240 degrees at 18 knots. Visibility 8 miles. Rain.
Alright, Castrop, so
100. Scattered at 3,000. Fuel at 22,000. Temperature 10. Dew point 8. QNH 1005. Advise on initial contact. You have information Echo.
Depart arrival, it's going to be ILS 30, and via Castrop I'm going to go. Okie doke.
Arriving runway 30, departing runway 3.
Let's shut her off once more. Minimums, are they 200? Being an ILS, and the answer is for a category Delta, it's actually 225. Where are we then on the minimums? Radio. Seeing as we can only round it to the nearest 10, legally we've got to add it, not remove. Alright, Castrop, there's this crazy maneuver here. Then in theory we're supposed to go back round to Cass. I don't know, let's see what it does. Irkutsk, Cass 17, let's try rig that up through the disco. We'll see how it works us out. Here we are at 10,000. Auto throttle is still off. How long is the runway that we're dealing with? Not the longest, but it's great. 9,000, call it 200 feet. Let's see if that is shown in here. Often is on the Boeings. And it is, look at that. 9,186 feet, exactly. ILS Freak is pre-dialed, unlike the 73s. 108.90 course, 299 glide slope on flap speed. Well, we've got a choice between 25 and 30. Let's go with flaps 30. There we go. Okie doke. So there we are at 10,000 feet. We'll let the speed bleed off. And again, we've shown that VNAV is a no-go on this, so I'll aim for 240, and then we'll level change it down. Back to the legs page, your side. We'll make sure we complete Erpuk. We need to be out or below 4,000. Well, that's creeping up awfully quick. Got about 10 miles and maybe 10 back. So that's 20 miles to lose 6,000 feet as well as 40 knots. So we're going to need the boards to help us with that. As we're about to drop through 10. Oh, the inboard lights are already on. Right, there we go. 250, let's descend then. 4,000. Engine anti-ice, wing anti-ice. Look at that, it looks like it's automatically come on. I didn't press any of that, it's done it by itself. Alright, flight level change. That's going to be the most easy way to drop down to 4,000. The reason I'm not going to put the slats up, or down, whichever way you want to call it, is I'm thinking by leaving them up, we're going to add a little bit of alpha drag that putting slats down would actually reduce. In other words, I think it's less efficient because we're below this speed here to fly without slats than it would be with. At least, I don't know, because look at our vertical descent speed. Mind you, we are about turning into a 55 knot wind, so we'll see. Yeah, looks like we are going to struggle to get down to 4,000. Put the boards out again. See if that does it. Of course, we're free to go all the way to 250, which I'm going to make use of. 250 knots, especially with the boards out, is going to lose you a lot more energy than 240 knots with the boards out. Because drag and all of that stuff goes up with the square of the speed. So yeah, it looks like we should just about make it. Yeah, we'll make it. Auto throttle disconnect lights still on, and clear that. So I'm going to go auto brake minimum. It's a long runway. We're not that heavy. We'll be limping in over the fence. Auto brake minimum should do it. We've got what seems to be options 1, 2, 3, 4 and max. Still got the boards out, still not got any flaps, and there you can see the wind blowing us across. And yeah, we're going to make this no problem. So let's reduce speed to 240, and I am going to put the slats out now. Let's have a look at the slat camera. There we go. Out they go. And yeah, unfolding at a real nice speed. I really like that. Maybe a tad slow. I don't know. I've never seen a real 747 put the slats out and measured the timing. But there seems to be a massive discrepancy between this and the other. All right, 4,000. Looks like we're basically there. A lot of turbulence still. We've still got a 50 knot headwind, so this is gonna make our approach a little funky. Assuming it doesn't die down a little bit. Let's zoom in a little bit just while we get this turned on. Yeah, so the ND leaves a little to be desired for still. It's a lot better than it used to be. It used to be just hadn't had nothing to do with what your flight plan was. Here you can kind of see it's trying to draw, but it's just not doing so very well. Let's see what the autopilot ends up doing. We've still got LNAV in. Let's reduce speed to 220. I'm satisfied that now we're at about, call it 4,000, we're 500 feet. We've got about 3 or 4 miles to go, so I'm going to get rid of the boards. And let's start preparing for landing. Does it have an easy way to arm? How do you arm? How do you arm? Do you just move it like that? I'm used to either pulling it out or some sort of satisfying detent. Let's move it to there. Oh well, let's see if that does the trick or not. Looks like actually we are riding the boards a little bit here, so I'm not convinced that's right. There's maybe a shortcut. I'm going to try it now. Right click to... Oh, there we go. There you go. So you move your mouse down there and then you roll the mouse wheel. So that does it. Now the engines were moving, weren't they? Did you just see the engines? Right, there we go. 4,000 feet, speed looking good. What? How are the engines moving? My auto throttle is not on. No auto throttle on the notifications either. I do want the auto throttle on, but again, just shows things are not quite right. Let's go for 220 knots, and I'm going to go flaps 5. Down they go. Let's push the range out on this a little bit. So here's a left turn, so you can see it's not really following the magenta line, or at least the predictive flight path and the magenta line are two separate things. Actually, it is following the magenta line. Please don't go all the way around here the way that you've depicted. Come on, use a bit of common sense. I mean, really, you'd be... Let's leave it on LNAV. I want to see what it does. I mean, it used to be that what was depicted on here and what LNAV did was like night and day different. Okay, this is kind of what you'd expect it to do. It's just not drawn correctly. But yes, I'm guessing we're going to the... final fix here on 3.0. Let's come to the legs page. Well, maybe the initial still, which is actually way out of position. Never mind. This fix here should be like over here. So I'm not sure why it's drawn completely wrong and why we seem to be going direct to the final, but I just want to leave it be. Let's come over to the ILS then and see what sort of heights we're talking about. So down to 3 now. So let's drop down. VS. Down you go. Let's slow speed down to 200 on the left there. And let's flaps 10 we can do once we're below 245 or well below 245. So let's go. Yeah, so when we complete this turn, you can see this wind that is currently a quarter in tailwind should be a headwind with a little bit of a cross from the left. So we're going to have to put a bit of right boot on when we land. Let's see if autoland can do it. Let's go for autoland. That's all part of it as well. So let's just once again check. 108.90. 108.90, 299, 299, all that checks out good. Alright then, let's see what you can do. Init page, approach speed 145, flaps 30. Legs on your side, 3,000 feet. We're going down. All right, so now there's a right-hand turn. Now, if I was flying manually, I would turn right there to try and smooth off, you know, give myself a bit of an entry here. Either that or do a teardrop. One or the other, but you can see what's on the ND and what LNAV is actually doing. Again, two separate things. Let's go local. Should have done that perhaps a little earlier. Only 200 feet. I think we could maybe get away with it. Right, gonna drop the speed back a tad. Let's go for 180. And once we start on the... How are we... Surely we're not above glide. Oh, we are. Look how close it's pretty. Okay, so yeah, this is not. LNAV is not. You know. All right. So let's fix this ourselves. So I need current heading hold, and I'm going to give myself a teardrop entry here. So let's go for 070. Let's center that so we've got a bit of a better view on the situation. So we've got the extended center line here that we're about to cross over. So my plan is to push out to about here, and then again the teardrop right-hander in on the final. I'm not going to bother with LNAV anymore. You can see, I hope I've demonstrated here that it kind of works and it kind of doesn't. It's hit and miss. So our airport destination there behind us. And once again, some insane vapes that seem kind of random. Still blown away by the model. Here at Copenhagen, that, you know, via a hop, skip and a jump is connected to mainland Europe. Was it always? I don't know. Alright, I think that'll do. Now look at this. The ND is given like a, you know, that wasn't like that before though, was it? Alright, let's right-hand it then. In fact, I'm just going to hold my heading change down. I don't want to go past the 6 o'clock position in case the autopilot starts winding us in the other way. It shouldn't do, but many of them do, and I don't want to risk it. Let's put a few more degrees on, and that'll be a nice intercept, I think. 270. And we are now below glide, which is where we want to be. And as is usual on the Boeings, you get your flap and your approach speed that you've selected down there, which is a nice reminder. We also get ground speed below the airspeed ticker, which is nice. Especially when you've got a turbulent approach, you really want to keep an eye out on ground speed, because it kind of gives you a clue if you're expecting a gust of wind to help or to drop off. Of course, Airbus takes care of that stuff with GS Mini, but Boeings are like, oh, what's GS Mini? Well, it's an incredible piece of kit, really, that sorts your approach speed out during turbulence, but again, Boeing doesn't have it. You've got to do things like add additional, which doesn't even have the option on here, does it, to put whatever extra on. In any case, 175, let's arm the approach. Zoom in a little bit your side as well. No terrain, so nothing much really to see down there, but you know, coming in over hills, and we did see on the other game, even though we didn't get to start up, we were just taxiing on the ground, it did work, as you'd expect. Let's pick up the pace a little bit just so we can get there. Come on. And let's assume what's ATC said to us. Well, they said you're clear to land, so we'll put these lights on. Turn off should have been on. Taxi can come with it. Wing. And we'll put logo on. And everything else just seems to take care of itself. Kind of like the Airbus, really. It takes care of itself. It's a lot more automated than even the 73-8. Certainly more automated than the 74-2. So we're expecting to intercept ILS any second. We can see here we're about to capture the glide. Let's give ourselves a few more degrees to make the intercept a little quicker. So you can't usually capture glide until you've captured the lope. And there are options, you know, airline specific that can let you do it, but normally not. Alright, so Loke coming in now. Question is, are we to... Oh no, there we go, Loke and GS. So we just in time managed to capture it both. So let's wind speed back now, because we're on the 3-degree down. Let's dump the gear. FMC, not an intercept heading. Well, clearly we are. I hate having to delete all that stuff. Missed approach, it says what? Okay, there isn't really a missed approach procedure, it's just straight ahead up to 3,000. So I was going to say it doesn't have a missed approach procedure on, but it does. It doesn't actually have the 3,000 or above, just the 420 or above, which is probably to say you can't steer until you're above there. So again, missed approach procedures, it's potentially wonky. We've got land 3 in. Okay, it automatically puts all the autopilots on fire. Final approach heading, I think it said was 299, even though we're currently doing 298 on the track. 299 it is, so let's leave that rigged up. Let's go flaps 20. Let's further reduce the speed. And VAP again was 145. Flaps 25. Let's drop to 145. I'm not adding any change on for gusts. There's flaps 30. You can see actually, oh there, the ref does now finally click on. Getting a bit behind the curve there. Now we do got an app thing here as well as maps, so let's switch over to app. I know most people don't normally bother. And aside from getting rid of the UTC, it makes no difference whatsoever. That's ridiculous. Alright, leave it in map then. Let's zoom in. Yeah, that's not great. I don't understand what this ICAO thing is about. Echo Delta Delta Hotel. We're nowhere near. We're Echo Kilo Charlie Hotel. That was our departure ICAO. So, again, what exactly is going on here? No idea. I do like we've got identifiers here as well as the DME. Got the radar. Land 3 is very clear. Minimums is clear. Enunciators are very clear. Missed approach up to 3,000. That's on there. Local. Ground speed. So you see very low because of course we're dealing with this headwind. Actually quite a strong crosswind. 26. Does give us a runway identifier there, but again ICAO is off. Right, boards are armed, gears down, flaps full, lights are on, autoland is on. And we do got a checklist over here. Let's hit it actually real quick. Where are we? Checklist. Landing, so speed brake arm, gear down, flaps. Well, we've set those. Select. Landing checklist complete. So what do you do? Do you hit checklist again? You do. There we go. We get the Boeing Radar countdown.
Approaching minimums. 200.
That didn't sound very Boeing-like.
$100.
That's a terrible. Oh my goodness. Disconnect, go around.
Bank angle.
What are you doing? Give me throttle. Wheels in. Flaps, reduce 1 notch. Disconnect. Auto throttle, disconnect because you're mine. Yeah, so, okay, so there you go. Autoland does not work. Well, it kind of does, but then really doesn't. So let's do it manual. Looks like auto brake automatically disconnects, so let's set that to 2. Check that the boards are not out, and they're not. Let's go flaps 20. And I'm just going to hand fly it round. Again, it does feel like a big plane, and you can see when I'm throwing the stick around, I mean, you know, it's taken a while to respond, which is what you'd expect. Again, perhaps the vaping a little excessive, but, you know. And again, I'm just going to visually hand fly it round. Beautiful lighting effects in XPlane. Certainly when you catch it just right like that. Just wow. Actually looks a lot like DCS now under, you know, certain lighting and times of day. It's very similar. It does make you wonder sometimes, do these developers use, you know, very similar kind of technology, or do they copy each other a bit? I'm not exactly sure there. I wouldn't like to guess, wouldn't like to say, but it certainly seems like it. When everyone, you know, within like 6 months of each other come out with a thing, and, you know, somebody's first and everyone's like, wow, and then like 6 months later the other flight sim does it, and 6 months later it's like all the flight sims have got it in. I don't know. I also think XPlane is the smallest development team by far. It sounds like, you know, I don't think they actually said how many guys that they had, but when they were doing the review, the interviews recently coming up for XPlane 12, you certainly got the impression that there was like 5 or 6 people that were doing the whole thing. Again, nothing wrong with that, just an observation. And they were like, you know, we are hiring, we're looking for people, and then they were saying, oh, and we pull people in from the sort of the online plugin community a lot, you know, because it's like the best interview, right? Well, what examples have you done? Well, for example, the guy that did the lib rain, right? The raindrops on the windscreen. Can't think of his name offhand, but yeah, he did that. I'm just going to set my speed on there, 145, even though I'm not doing that. Just to remind myself, I'm going to dump the gear. And yeah, runway in sight. Alright, let's go flaps 25, getting a little slow. This one, by the way, doesn't seem to have that massive gain of lift between flaps 25 and 30 versus the classic. You know, the classic, you go flaps 30 and there's like all of a sudden this huge amount of lift. This one doesn't. Right, there's flaps 30. We're riding around on the approach, a little low, but I am using right rudder there, but usually the yaw dampers take care. Let's have a look actually. So I'm not going to press the rudder pedals, I'm just going to steer. Yeah, there's no yaw, yeah, that's not right, is that? On the airliners, the modern ones, and a lot of them simulate it, you'll see if you're flying, especially when you're flying in slow, if you steer like this, the yaw damper basically does the rudder for you. You don't need to do coordinated like you do in Cessnas and whatnot. It does it for you. And there you see, it didn't do it at all, but inside, you see there's no adverse yaw, so it is flying as though it is using the rudder in a coordinated manner, but you saw visually it's not using it at all.
30, 20.
I'm floating in ground effect. There we go. Right boot. Now look, when I idle the reversers and then stow the reversers, the slats unfold again, which is again real nice touch. That is what they do. It's just nice that they've modelled it, because I don't think most people are even aware that that is what happens. Why, look how far down those flaps hanging down back. Hanging down for days. All right, that's going to be it. That's going to be end from me. Review overall. Like I said, well, everything that I've said. It's a gorgeous model. The sounds are all right. The FMC feels like it's half done, half complete, halfway there, which is, come on, SSG. You've been working on this plane for 5 years. I don't buy the version 2 stuff. The XPlane 12, well, if you showed me it working in an XPlane 11, I'd let you off, but it never was. Is it slowly getting there? Yes. And so, you know, and it is by far one of the cheaper modules. It's like a half price, watered down, entry level kind of a module, I would say. And so until next time, take care. Bye bye.